from Llano, and that's Llano, no Lano.
Yes, ma'am. You continue with the question.
First of all, just out of curiosity, I'd like to know how many of you have been to the Robinson Park in Llano? That's too bad. My question, as I heard Janice asking, and I'd like it clarified for me, please, is you were talking about who could object to this permit or whatever, and I heard it said that people downstream, and that being landowners. What about people in the city of Llano who own a lot with their house on it? Is that permissible?
So, okay, so we're gonna let our staff attorney talk to you about the comment process and who can raise comments and concerns, and then about the hearing.
Yes, ma'am. So as part of that contested case hearing process, anyone can file a request for a hearing and anyone can file a comment. You just have to explain why you think you would be affected. And the commission will then read that explanation and decide under Texas law if you qualify to be in the actual hearing. You don't have to be right next door to qualify for a hearing or anything like that.
Under Texas law,
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that. What
Yes.
does that say?
Yes, ma'am. We have a series of rules that are in Chapter 11 of the Texas Water Code, and also there are TCQ rules for how to fill out a request, who the commission believes is an affected person. An affected person would be the person who would go to a hearing. And to be an affected person, you have to explain to the commission what interests you might have, property interests you think would be affected from a permit like this one. You just have to explain to them why you think you're affected.
How it would affect my property?
Or any interest you might have. You don't have to own, you can just any property interest. If you have cattle or livestock or you use irrigation, explain, draw a connection between the permit and what interest you have. They'll then evaluate that.
Downtown Llano is not urban, rural ranch land. We don't have cows and such. And you're familiar with those laws that you're talking about. And I think I asked a very simple question. As a person who lives in a little house on a little lot in the city of Llano, would I be qualified to object?
So,
It depends on what interest you have.
I drink water.
Then that's what you can do.
okay, ladies and gentlemen, remember time is of the essence, so.
The reason it might seem, it's a long answer because the law, it's a very complicated process in how you go about requesting it. The process requires that you state your name, what property you have, any interest. You can claim a recreational interest. You can say for irrigation, you swim there, you live there, whatever interest you think you have, put that down and the commission will evaluate it. But it can be anything. You just have to show how you're affected. And if that interest falls under, if it's justiciable, if it's actually a legitimate interest, the commission will refer you to a hearing. But I can't tell you hypothetically here. I represent the executive director for TCQ. I can't provide you all legal advice. I can only tell you what our rules say. So I can't explicitly tell you what they might do. I can only tell you what our rules require.
So let me clarify two things, and then if you have a second question, we'll take that, and then we'll need to move on to the line. No one here on the panel today has the authority to make a decision or to evaluate such a request. Those go before the commission. So we're here to listen, to take your formal comments in the last period of this meeting, and to take anything that you submit in writing. But he can't make a decision himself. That is a commissioner's decision. Now, to further aid you, on how to submit a comment or what you need to write or a hearing request, that group that I talked about earlier, and I'm going to repeat their number, because you can call them and they'll talk to you one-on-one to help you understand the process and how to submit such a thing. It's the Office of Public Interest Counsel, for short, OPIC, OPIC. I'm going to give you this number because they can help the public. 512-239-6363. Cole represents the executive director of the agency. He cannot provide legal advice to the public. But this Office of Public Interest Counsel in the TCQ, they can talk to you and help you through that process. Okay?
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Did you have a second question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
For Mr. Garland. With 4 wells, why don't you fill up that pond yourself?
I think there are a variety of technical reasons that is not practical in this case, and I will only emphasize again that is the opinion of the TCEQ administrative staff, as well as our consultants, that there will be no practical impact to any downstream riparian owners or other water rights holders, or any practical impact to the environmental flows as a result of the addition to this pond.
So again, we have about 15 or so minutes for questions. Please hold your comments. We're about to go into the formal.